Okay, cool, amazing stuff. So today I actually wanted this to be a very interactive session. I really wanted to be able to speak about the things I'm witnessing and the trends that I'm noticing when it comes to AI and startups. So just to give you all a bit more of a background, I first of all started using AI, I'd say about 6 months before ChatGPT came out. And I didn't even realize that's what it was. I was essentially scraping leads from databases of things that were publicly available, of course. And I was essentially, able to filter those, treat that information, and sell that to clients as like a lead base, right? And people who had startups, and let's say they were trying to, get a particular kind of customer. I could find that particular kind of customer using publicly available databases and LinkedIn as well, and essentially create that, provide that information to companies. And then, of course, came ChatGPT, released on 30th of November 2022. And, obviously that completely changed a whole lot of things. At the time, I was actually a creative. So that was a very interesting transition for me. And this is why, like, the people I work with, they always cite that, the difference when it comes to how I sort of like look at this technology. And this isn't something I even do consciously, but is the fact that I just see it as a creative tool. It's a very, very creative tool. And I think the best way it can be leveraged by startups is for them to essentially look at how their current business processes are being run and see where exactly AI can provide value. So I'm gonna do something slightly different today. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure we actually build a mind map together, so everything becomes quite actionable. Of course, I'm fond of slides as well, but I think doing things like this is exactly, is a lot more, makes it easy to act upon. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. What I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to share the full screen. So yeah, you guys should be able to see. Just going to find, sorry, just a sec. Okay, there we are. This is my database of AI tools. I've also been posting about the best new AI tools every day for the last 177 days on my YouTube channel. So yeah, definitely check it out if you think that would be useful to you. And I'm actually going to go into my methodology behind the channel as well and how I approach AI as a whole. So let's say how startups can utilize AI effectively. So whenever I think of AI in terms of like its immediate use cases, I'm just going to change the view of this to be top down. Think of three things really. First thing I think of is conducting research, right? OpenAI is a research company. And I think a lot of people understate that, like we are here where we are now because of monumental amounts of research and, constantly standing on the shoulders of giants as we always do in tech. After that, we have creating content. Now, most people would think, okay, content is social media, right? Or maybe even LinkedIn. But content is literally any piece of text, image, video, or sound, right? Any form of communication. And what I'm trying to remind myself to change this from creating content to actually creating communications, because I think that's broader and it actually represents what this technology is capable of doing. And then lastly, we have automating tasks, right? Now, this is sort of the holy grail of AI because it allows you to put these two on a flywheel so that, they can essentially keep on rolling without any or if any minimal human intervention. So conducting research, why is this valuable? I'm just gonna speak instead of type as well, because I think this is something people should also get very much used to. I think typing is eventually going to be a thing of the past. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my application I've got called Aqua Voice. I've got a hotkey, which is a function button. And this is also an exceptional way to actually prompt. I think the best prompts are always spoken. The most efficient form of prompt engineering, I would say, just so you're aware, is spoken JSON prompting. Okay. Conducting research allows you to make the most of trending and viral concepts and moments within your industry so that your marketing dollars can go even further by the natural organic push that comes with this trend. Okay, great. So we've just got that pasted in here. Cool. So like I said, conducting research allows you to make the most of training and viral concepts and moments within your industry so that your marketing dollars can go even further by the natural organic push that comes with this trend, right? Because if you're at the forefront of the trend, you will naturally be lifted, and that's inevitably going to make any marketing dollars you spend go even further, or even allow you to, even though it's becoming rarer and rarer nowadays, to reach a certain level of attention just purely off organic content. Great. So conducting research I put first because the research you conduct should inform the sort of communication you're looking to create. So the kind of text, kind of visual aesthetics, the kind of videos, kind of content in general, or communications in general. So creating communications allows you to position yourself as a leader in your industry, whether for the founder or for the business as a whole. And it also allows you to stay relevant within your industry because by being at the forefront of your customers' minds, you're more likely to be their first point of contact. Great stuff. And of course, like I've said before, it's really important that the research you do should inform the communications you create, right? And I think in the startup world, like what I see a lot, especially with founders, is that they'll have product before feedback, right? I think user feedback or users should always come before product with any sort of like startup or business because you need to validate the idea. And what creating communications allows you to do is it allows you to validate ideas and concepts, right? Let's say, for example, I'm gonna make this even broader now. Let's say you have an e-commerce company and they're wondering which sort of particular type of shoe that they should put out or they should sell. Instead of manufacturing all of them, right? They can just make posts on different forms of social media communicating the creation process and what they're actually looking to create as a product. And whichever does the best is the one that actually gets put into production, which is just a complete reversal of the current landscape, which is where you just create a bunch of designs, let's say for any kind of product, and then you see which one sells first. But you don't necessarily have to do that, especially with things that are visual based, right? You can, or let's say visual with some, inherent functionality. You can actually show them to validate the idea first. And from a manufacturer point of view, it does save a whole lot of time and expense. Lastly, you have automating tasks. The most direct value AI can provide is via automation. Automation allows you to put research and communications on a flywheel that requires very minimal human intervention, saving time, energy, attention, and money in the process. You're up there. Okay, great. Cool. So this is the sort of first step, right? And one of the things I try and, say to startups is like, do you think you should focus more on research or communication? Now, there can be a 50-50 balance, but for example, you know, companies like OpenAI are like by their very nature, they are research first. And even if you think of like the longevity of the company, they spent a lot of time doing research. And I think the time spent doing research is certainly larger than the amount of time spent regarding or around creating communications. Because really they're in that sort of breakthrough industry. Whereas let's say if you were in a sort of course creation sort of field, right? And you would be more interested in creating communications because you'd want to know what sort of formats of media would resonate with your audience, with your, ICP and all these sort of things. So that's a very important thing to know. And yeah, like I said, automating tasks is really the main thing you want to do. And I'm getting in the habit now of actually noting down whenever I do something that I think in future I might want someone else to do. If I can, I note down the exact workflow. So it's very clear for them to understand. Okay, cool. So, like I said, I think some key takeaways so far are you should always have users before product because users will inform the features that make up the MVP. Or MLP stands for minimum lovable product, or the minimum sort of product that people would be willing to pay, whatever the pricing tier is for. Before I go on, I'm keen to know if anyone has any questions so far.
I think there was a question in the chat by someone asking about the tool that you're using.
Oh, this tool. This tool is called MindMap. I've been using it for a very long time. Yes, app.mindmap.com. I think it's like 20, $25 for like a year. So it's, yeah, very affordable. Very useful. I essentially organize myself uh via a series of, well, mainly one mind map or a few mind maps and calendars. I think that's the best way to sort of do things. And there are a lot of AI tools as well that allow you to create mind maps from different forms of content and text and and documents, which are quite useful. But cool, if that's all, I'll keep moving on. Yeah, Whisperflow is a good one. I'm just looking at the chat now. Aqua Voice is the one I use, and I'll actually just quickly go on the website because they actually got in touch with me and asked me to do a video on their product. So this I think is like a fantastic sort of product because and I'm not just trying to show it. I'm just saying like my honest professional opinion because typing takes too long. I, I think we're gonna get to a point where everyone realizes the typing takes too long. Why I particularly like this Aqua Voice is because it's actually a way of like formatting. So you can say ordered list and it will actually start creating whatever you dictate to it after that in an ordered list, which is quite cool. So it quickly changes from being an AI agent that understands formatting instructions to actually dictating whatever it is you like to dictate. But yeah, I don't want to, come in here and shit Apple Voice too much, but I do think it's a great product. And these sort of things are becoming more popular, like sort of Whisperflow and a few other things. And I actually did a video on Whisperflow, which is what the team at Apple Voice first of all saw. So yeah, this was also backed by Y Combinator in Silicon Valley. So they're doing some great stuff. But back to how startups can utilize AI effectively. Um, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you some tools that you can begin using to start doing a few of these things. So we're going to start off with conducting a research. Now, there's a great website called Answer the Public. Now, this is firstly, has anyone heard of this website before?
Yes, I've heard it. In fact, I've used it a few times.
Okay, amazing. And what's your experience with it been like?
It's great. It's great. I've been following Neil Patel more than a decade now. This is a really good tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same way. This is a great way to have access to what's called social listening. So this is referred to as a social listening tool because it allows you to see what people are actually searching for. Yeah, more or less everywhere in the world. So you can look, in different countries. Let's say I want to search for something like creative AI, right? And you get 3 daily searches, which is pretty useful. What I'll do then is I'll just click search, and it's going to give me a few different forms of infographics, right? And whenever I coach people who are looking to build, AI-powered personal brands, this is one of the websites that I actually showcase to them, right? So we've got here a circle that has a few question starters here. Are, can, how. We can see the questions people are actually asking. So, what is Ad Creative AI? I know about this platform. They essentially create ads. Quite quickly, what creative jobs will AI replace? That makes sense. So what is this research meant to do? This research is meant to inform you on what sort of communication you should create, because this is what people are already talking about, right? You want to join in on the conversation. In most cases, unless you want to start a whole new form of discourse, which is still related to pre-existing interest, right? But even so, with that would essentially be a combination of, let's say, two or a few big questions being asked in whatever niche you initially search. So we've got this useful sort of graphic here. How creative can AI be, right? Can creative AI give self-repair? Interesting. Are creative jobs saved from AI? What are creative AI tools? Okay, good stuff. So now we've got a mind map as well. I really like the concept of a mind map. So thankfully, Answer the Public gives that to us. We've got, what is the creative AI? Is creative AI free? Is there any free AI I can use? Is Adobe AI free? Adobe is actually, I mean, I think you have a certain amount of tokens, and I'm actually doing a lot of work with Adobe at the moment around their Firefly and Adobe Express media generation models, which are quite interesting. And yeah, we've got questions like, which GPT model is best for creative work? Okay, cool. I can see this and I can be like, okay, I'm going to create content about this. So I'm going to tell people what GPT model is best for creative work. And go into ChatGPT and start writing a script around that. Which AI is best for creative writing? I actually saw a creative writing AI tool today. So we've got a few different ways we can actually, let's go back here. We've got a few different ways we can actually, start getting ideas in terms of what sort of content we should create. Cool. So yeah, Answer the Public is definitely one I would recommend. Now, once you validate the idea, right, using Answer the Public, the next thing I would recommend is to validate the format, right? And you can do that using VidClue. Now, VidClue is good for any sort of video ideas. And of course, video is the form of content that gets the most amount of engagement. So what you'll essentially see here is a few, you'll see some like TikToks that are, or other sort of videos on other platforms, that basically are different kind of styles that you can try and replicate. So this one's a community interaction one. I'm just gonna click over here and see what this is. Let's move this over here. Oh, that's strange for some reason. Let me just keep scrolling down.
Barb, before wants to know how many cars like oil level gauge.
The cars don't tell you
What is the flyers,
Okay,
lifestyle,
so,
or things to have around?
One second.
You look and have
I'm
ideas.
sure
That
that
has to,
sound was
you
coming
have
from-
feel like it's flyers.
Just gonna try and fix that.
Before,
I think there's multiple
no,
just
place in order.
videos playing on this. Try that.
Okay, cool. So let me go back to this side. So here we've got pause to reveal. This is one of the formats. So you can use fast-paced visuals to prompt viewers to pause and reveal hidden details. So this is one sort of, let me find. Yeah, so essentially you get people to pause on, like the video itself in order for them to see, or for them to win something, right? Let me go to something that's a bit more educational. So we've got educational styles here. So break down a complex topic into something simple. Not sure why.
Think of like a slice of pizza. Imagine you had a slice of plain cheese
Not
pizza
sure
and
where-
presented with Bond as
Okay, so that was already playing automatically. So let's take a look at this. I'm not sure why this can't
Andrew.
yeah.
A small fungus that's attracted to our hair's natural oil.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause that. Unfortunately, for some reason, this pop-up isn't going right now. But as you can see, the format of this video, he's essentially explaining things in a simple way, and you could use this for whatever SaaS or product that you've got, and you'll get a few tips. So like break down complex ideas into simple terms, like explaining to the child, and you can include this exact phrase in your prompts when you're creating. When you're creating the script, right? So VidClue is a great way to validate the format of content.
It's normal looking.
Typically video content. You can have listicles as well.
Five best socks money combined. Not much. Crazy and money.
Yeah.
You need that.
Unfortunately, Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know why this pop-up isn't closing, but I do think VidClue is a great platform and it's definitely something you can utilize. Okay, cool. I think that's enough on conducting research. So both of those tools I would consider research tools, right? Because you're researching what topic and what format, right, are valid for you to actually create content around in order to actually have the highest probability of getting engagement from your ICP or your targeted audience. Now, with regards to creating communications, what I'll do is I'll actually go on to I'm going to go onto my YouTube channel. And I'll essentially explain the workflow and what it actually takes. So let's go Jay Johnson AI. So this is my form of creating content. So like I said, I've been posting about the best new AI tools every day for 177 days, as you can see. So I update that daily. So 9 hours ago, this was an AI that basically turns product photos into viral marketing, images, and I actually also have a playlist. So, and in my playlist, right, I have automating tasks, conducting research, and creating content, right? And then my other videos are just, for me and my modestly successful music career. But if we go into, let's say we go into creating content, because this is what we are looking at now. We've just taken a look at conducting research. Okay, cool. And we have what is essentially a list of videos that allow you to create content or show you an AI tool that creates content. Now, when it comes to creating content, I split content or I split communications in general into I guess you can go with content, and we can say text, image, video, audio, right? And then you of course have social media platforms. Now, when it comes to creating my video content, I have a very streamlined workflow that I don't even do. So the first thing I had to do is I had to firstly discover what is the most efficient way to do this. What is the most efficient way to generate high quality, high volume videos, at scale. And I had to think of that. I had to think of every step of the process, what AI tools I use. So I use tools like HeyGen. And that's been the foundation of my channel with regards to my ability to post every single day. And I mean, what I discovered is that whenever you're doing any sort of workflow or process, what I like to essentially what I like to do is just note it down. Right, I think it's very, very important, like every single step of the way, because eventually the aim is to automate as much of it as possible. The parts that you can't yet automate, you delegate to someone else who, will be able to essentially do it pretty much identical to the way you do it, because you would have built all the nuances into the levels of automation, right, that needed to be automated, and everything else would just be dragging, dropping, copying and pasting, clicking around with no sort of, and you can just hire someone else to do that without having to leave any form of creativity or any form of potentially risky aspects of the content creation workflow to let's say someone who's not necessarily a knowledge worker, or you're not hiring them to be a knowledge worker. Now, one of the tools I think is important to note that I've actually done, I've done a video on this, and they actually got in touch because they also they wanted me to do another video on them. This is GenTube. And this is quite an interesting one. So this platform is essentially the fastest image generator out there. And what I actually do, right, when I want to generate an image, is typically I'll go to GenTube first, because what I can do with GenTube is I can quickly ideate, right? Remember, speed of feedback is also massively crucial aspect of this technology. It's the fact that it can give us feedback so quickly. So I've just clicked one of their one-click prompts, which was a giant elephant with enormous feathery white wings flying. Now, this looks pretty cool. I think he's got sort of like this is a bit of more of a hallucination here with this kind of tusk. But what I can do if I don't like it is I can just get rid of one letter, right? And then I can just put it back in there. And it will always just generate a different image. And all the images that it generates are basically saved down here at the bottom. Okay, so as you can see, we've had these 3 images generated so far. Now, what I can do if I want to iterate is I can just say cinematic lighting, right? And I've never seen this image generation model take any longer than about 10 seconds to generate an image, whereas, you know, other platforms can take over a minute easily. And on average, I would argue, I can confidently say it would take over like 30 seconds. I've never seen this go longer than 10. Let's go wide angle. Let's go Safari. And yeah, you can see I can just receive feedback on my prompt immediately. And then once I'm like, okay, once I know I'm somewhere where I like the composition and the style. Let me go anime style. Let me see if this is gonna work with like different sort of aesthetics. Okay, I think let me try put this in front. You also have like certain kind of blocks that you can use. Well, let's say, yeah, I mean, that's slightly, I can sort of see that, or comic style. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into the, yeah, that looks a bit more like a comic. If we go on to here, we can see we've actually got certain like different kind of subjects that we can use. But my whole point with regards to the GenTube app is it allows you to quickly iterate and receive feedback. Like receiving feedback is so crucial, and being able to do it quickly is quite important. So once I have, let's say, the image prompt here, then I can take that to ChatGPT or any other image generation model. And those are just like a few concepts around content creation that I think are important to understand. When it comes to the content creation process, realistically, like, I guess you would only be there for the part where you needed to be there, which is when you're being recorded. You know, in an ideal situation, everything else after that is completely automated, and you know, just gives, and you just need to give the green light. So that's a really important thing, because content creation can take up a whole lot of time. You know, I think it's probably what's taking up a whole lot of people's time nowadays in terms of like startups and businesses. And when I say content creation, or I should say communication creation, I really mean anything from like a pitch deck to your website, not necessarily things you're showing to the masses, even messages that you know that you can send to people within your working relationships. You know, that kind of messaging can also be improved by AI whilst preserving the meaning you had behind it. Okay, so that was yeah, just a bit on creating communications. Does anyone have any questions since any questions on that?
Yes, I have a quick question, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Regarding the research part that you mentioned in the first branch, is there any specific LLM that you'd like to use for the research part? In your experience, which tool has been so successful for you? Oh, Perplexity.
yeah, I think Perplexity is the best for research, is what I tell my clients, because yeah, it really is great at providing like you know, sources, and it's very extensive and very thorough in terms of how it actually cites itself. Okay, cool. So we can see a few trending topics. So let's say I click on, let's go on Trump delays Medicare rule after 5 million donation. Okay, cool. So I like the fact that at a glance from the top, you can see the answer, images, sources, and steps. Now, this for me is definitely like sort of the best way to go. We've got the different sort of references here, key facts, very clear, you know, and Perplexity is, I think I heard Perplexity is directly, or takes most of its outputs, or a lot of them, from Reddit as well, which is an important thing to note, because that can also be very useful when trying to figure out user feedback and user data in terms of, you know, you trying to get informed on what features to include in your product's MVP. So yeah, I would definitely say Perplexity is a go-to. Combination of Perplexity and Reddit, I would say can make you yeah, can save you a lot of time with regards to research.
All right. And a related question regarding your YouTube videos script. Do you use Perplexity for that as well, or something else?
Those are actually quite unique. So in terms of my YouTube videos, I don't actually script them because I'm a lot of the time I'm walking through the tool itself and I'm just saying what I'm thinking as I'm walking through the tool. So it's not actually content that's packaged, or that's not necessarily packaged. It's content that's very minimally produced, right? Apart from like the key things, like I have a call to action in the middle, but that's more like editing. With regards to the production of it, it's literally just me exploring a new AI tool. And the reason I decided to start to do this is because I was spending a lot of time doing this anyway. And I thought I need a form of proof of research or proof of thought in a sense, because I think also in the landscape of AI it's soon going to get very saturated with people who, are saying they're in AI. So you need to have something to set yourself apart. And I saw this coming, I guess, roughly about 177 days ago when I decided to start. And I thought, yeah, let me start because this is going to be one thing at least I can say that, I know not many other people can say as well. Of course, other people may have other impressive accolades, but with regards to the AI features being packaged already in a way that makes it easy to use out of the box so that you don't necessarily need an ML engineer or someone who's an AI engineer, that knowing that directory of tools that facilitate that is extremely useful because it allows you to go from, I guess, it allows you to essentially speak to everyone from like the consumer side all the way up to like enterprise, which is what I do in my work.
Right, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, cool, great stuff. Thanks for those questions. They were very interesting. Cool.
Thank you.
So let's keep going and let's move on to the holy grail of AI, which is automating tasks. Now, I have a bot, right, that I created. I called it Chat GPT, right? And it was essentially Chat GPT combined with my way of, thinking, speaking, and seeing the world. And I asked it a question: what does the future of AI, what's in store in the future of AI, and how will people, what can we expect to see? And I gave it a bit of a personality. It was a bit, bold, right? And it answered very shortly as I was, still programming it to do so then. And it said a whole lot of automation and a whole lot of people claiming they saw it coming. Now, I guess, and in terms of like the timeline, I'd ideally like to be at one of the, earlier ends of people who said I saw it coming. But automation is really like the most, I guess, most useful part, because with automation is kind of like a horizontal enabling layer, which is how Jeff Bezos describes AI, because it allows you to do a lot of other things. Because once you can automate things, then you don't have to be there to do it, which is just perfect. Like for example, you can automate things so that what used to take you like a day of work just doesn't need to be done anymore eventually. But what happens with humans is that we always look for more work, which is why I don't really buy into this whole narrative of everyone's going to lose their jobs. There's always going to be more work created. The amount of jobs that will be created by AI is very, is a topic that isn't talked about nearly as much as it should be. And I think that's really the first step to being able to position yourself as someone who, can stand a chance in the job market, or let's say, as a founder who's capable of building products that people value. So I think that's also very important. Now, when it comes to automation, I guess one of the first things people do think about is platforms like Make.com, Zapier, N8N. And those are great ones, really and truly. I think the best one overall in terms of like ease of use and technical capabilities is definitely N8N. There are other ones as well, like VoiceFlow but I think N8N is probably the most user-friendly and the most capable. because firstly, I like the UI. It's very like easy to understand, and of course, it's got that typical like automation workflow sort of design, but it also has like extensive functionality that I know that some other automation platforms don't. There's also another great one called Pipedream, which was actually the first one. I think this one's worth showing. So Pipedream is the first one I started using. I think I was using this I can't even remember, at least 2 years ago. Yeah, and NA10 is open source. I literally saw a tool today. Perhaps it was called hosting. I think it may have been called I think it may have been called hosting. Yeah, I think it was this. So self-hosted NAN, no code AI workflows. I mean, £5 a month is actually really good. Like if you know how to automate, or if you learn, how to automate things and you know what to automate, this can give you a large amount of time back, in your professional and even personal life at times. Yeah, cool. So I'm just gonna go on a bit more about automation, but before I do, does anyone have any questions? Because once I finish this part, then we'll open up the floor to a Q&A and any final points anyone wants to make. What I would recommend as well is exploring Zapier, because that's actually quite a useful platform. What I've done is I created a Zapier automation that sends me new research on AI every morning at 9 a.m. I also even use with ChatGPT tasks, which is an interesting one because I think that's been combined into like recent agent offering, as well as a few other things. Like every morning I'll get an update from ChatGPT as well about the latest discoveries in AI, and specifically how entrepreneurs can use those discoveries to provide them with an unfair advantage, because that's ultimately what you need in business if you're going to succeed. You need a moral and legal, but still somewhat unfair and an advantage in order to actually make the most of it. So yeah, that's the sort of like news I get sent to me on a daily basis, and that's the sort of thing that's relatively easy to automate, even with Zapier as well. Now, in terms of entry-level stuff and just learning, I think Zapier agents are an easy one because you can actually create automations without necessarily a sort of workflow UI, because I know some people might find it difficult with the workflow UIs. Personally, I think they're quite useful, but if you're just making something that's going to do repeat actions, let's say look for information online live, or like recent information online, and then just bring it to you in the same format each time. I think Zapier is an easy one for that. Whereas if you're like moving user data around and all this kind of stuff, and you want to be a bit more flexible and complex in terms of what you're doing, then yeah, NA10 is definitely the one to go. Make.com is an easy entry level one as well. I'm just going to type them all out here. So you've got Make.com, NAN, Zapier. Yeah, and these are just some, platforms that offer the voice flow as well, that offer the capability of, API integration with, automated workflows. Because once you understand this, I think learning how to automate is going to be like one of the most valuable skills. Yeah, it's going to be an extremely valuable skill in the future. I think even now it's only growing in terms of value. So yeah, that's essentially how I sort of see the current AI landscape. I also like to think of it as like, because this race is really like a war between researchers, educators, and discoverers on who can actually like find and make these discoveries in terms of transformational technologies and how they can save us time, and then present those discoveries in a more palatable way to the, I guess, less proactive members of society. Because those are the people that are going to be heavily rewarded. And the money is always, between the people and the tech, is a good saying, right? If you are able to essentially translate between people and technology, like a technology translator, I don't know, is that a job that's going to be created by AI? but translated into, but when I say translation, I mean in terms of like literally making sure people understand concepts of things, because AI even is, you know, has already developed its own sort of language. And when I say AI, of course, I mean more specifically large language models have been shown to be able to communicate with each other. So all in all, my main sort of the main thing I try and impart to my clients is that, you know, the future is always already here, but it will never be evenly distributed among the population. So the key to staying ahead is to be well informed and connected, you know, and this is really what it comes down to. So yeah, I guess with that, I'll you know conclude you know my section here, and yeah, I guess we can have the next 9-10 minutes you know, just have discussions about what we're facing professionally right now and any sort of like you know, discoveries we've made in the space.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. This was very interesting presentation. And I think very good tool recommendations as well. I'm personally a very heavy user of Zapier. Any questions?
I think no, they're all good.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, I mean, thank you all for being here. I'm glad you found this you know, useful. What I'll do is I'll drop my LinkedIn below. Feel free to connect with me. I also post my YouTube videos on there on a daily basis as well, not just on YouTube, but also LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble, and X as well. And yeah, let's all stay well informed and connected. And thank you to Dr. Stylianos and the Tesseract Academy for yeah, asking me to be here today to provide this presentation to you all.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, we hope to see you again soon at some of our other events. Thanks, Jeremiah, for the wonderful presentation.
That's all good. You're very welcome. Everyone take care now. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.